Hi there folks, my name is Novawing24 and welcome back to Flight Sim Expo 2024 for another interview, and we are here with the team from Just Flight today. We're here with Scott and Martin once again this year. Great to have you gentlemen back here at the show. How does it feel to be back here but less humid this year than it was last year?
Less humid but warmer. But no, but it's great to be back, and it's and the show's obviously getting bigger and better, so can't fault it. It's been really good.
It's so obviously you know this year we haven't sort of seen as many. We've seen a lot of product announcements in terms of like our stuff, but you guys are obviously focusing a bit more on sort of I don't want to say clearing your back catalogue of like announced releases, but we saw the announcement. Well, at the time of recording this, we had the long-awaited RJ finally go on pre-sale. I understand.
Yep. Yeah, so we're probably 2 months away from release for that. Hopefully around 2 months. Martin could probably elaborate. And yeah, so it's gone on pre-sale here to kind of people at the show can get it a little bit cheaper. But yeah, so it's great now. We've got a lot of the internal guys and some of the contractors that Martin uses all kind of concentrating on getting the RJ wrapped up into testing and released as soon as we can.
Cool. Yeah, we've had a lot of long-term projects, obviously, a lot of big airlines back-to-back, just the nature of how the schedule's fallen. So obviously working through those that's a lot of work there. So we've got the RJ coming up, we've already had the Tom Hawk come out recently, then the F70-100 and A300. So yeah, they're all coming to fruition really in the next sort of 8 to 10 months.
So one of the things that I've always noticed about Just Flight is the variety that you guys develop in terms of content. I mean, you just said it yourself. You've got the A300, we've got the RJ, the 146, and then we've got the Tomahawk and the Arrow as well. So do you find it challenging to do such a broad range of aircraft? And like, how does that sort of impact, and what's your vision for that?
I think the biggest issue with that is just lack of reusability. So you see other developers that might do the A320 family and then go on to an A330 and A340. You look at our product range, we can't really reuse anything. It's back to the back to the drawing board with each aircraft. That's probably the biggest challenge, I think. But really, for the sake of our sanity, we like to mix things up. I can't stare at the same type of aircrafts. I don't particularly enjoy doing airliner. Airliner, GA, military. It mixes things up, keeps it interesting. Yeah, it's more fun, I think.
And it's also great to see that your ongoing support. So you sort of mentioned before that we've got the RJ coming, which is obviously a development of the 146, but the 146 got a fairly significant update not that long ago. Is that something you're planning on doing with some of your other product lines as well into the future, like some of the ones that we've had seen that might have been released a year or two that might have been around? Are we going to see some V2s of other aircraft coming out?
Yeah, so the F28 V2 upgrade is what we're working on at the moment. I don't think we've announced it before now, but a bit like the 146, it's going to be adding the UNS FMS to it, which makes it obviously a lot more capable for doing VATSIM type of flying and longer distances. An improved autopilot, so like the real aircraft later in their service life, they are fitted with a more capable autopilot, so that'll be on there. Interactive checklists and things that we added to 146 will come across. So yeah, that will be maybe another couple of months away. So that'll be the next one. But yeah, we're always looking at what to add to existing aircraft. So at some point you'll probably see an upgrade to the PA-28s. Yeah, we like to keep them alive. We like to revisit them.
Yeah, so that the Pipers that we did that would be extremely successful, and people are now saying to us, why haven't you updated them? Why aren't they kind of being kept up to date? And as we always point out, all of those have probably had at least 10, 12 updates over the time since they've been released.
And it's updates versus upgrades.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I think nowadays, rightly or wrongly, there's more of an expectation for upgrades. Obviously that's tricky for a developer, because you've got to balance upgrading existing aircraft with working on new aircraft.
Yeah.
So people want to see the RJ released, but possibly also see upgrades to the PA-28. So it's, and obviously you've only got a finite team, so you kind of
there's only a finite amount of human resources you've got that can sort of go in.
Try and balance it. But yeah, no, so we'll definitely see upgrades.
I think we do a great job in that respect, but naturally when we look online, we look at the people who are complaining that we're not concentrating on their bits, and we get a little bit worried about that. But
2020's been out 4 years now.
Yeah.
4 years. So of course, the PA-28s were our first ever release in 2021, I think. So we were one of the first payware aircraft to the market. So naturally, 3 years on, parts of it are going to be dated now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have to admit that I recently went back and flew the Arrow series on stream and on a couple of videos, and I was like, because it had been a while since I'd flown them, and I was impressed by how much actually it had been improved. Like, we'd seen some avionics updates, we'd seen some of the features that you guys have started adding in more commonly with wear and tear and stuff like that. So seeing that evolve in that aircraft, I was very impressed, and I was like, I don't even remember these updates coming through. Yeah. But it was great to see that you're taking care of those aircraft.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 146 has had 18 updates, and obviously some of that is bug fixing, and some of it's small updates and small upgrades. Obviously, the version 2 is a more significant upgrade. Yep. You're not going to see loads of those because they're just a huge amount of work, but and a lot of that's been a learning curve as well. So like a lot of our upgrades have been because as time's gone on, we've learned, one, what the community wants, and 2, what we can actually achieve. So obviously as we go on, like the RJ and the A300 will have a lot of that stuff from day one. So they'll probably see maybe less upgrades because there's not as much scope for them anymore.
And again, you've learned.
It's a learning curve.
It's a massive balancing act between doing what Martin does with the older products. A brilliant job that they're in the team, but the bean counters at Just Flight are going, hold on a minute, stop please, move on to the other stuff, we need to get more releases out. So we always have to kind of have a wrestle, many discussions to kind of decide what the best route to take is. And the 146 update, how we never charge for that is like beyond kind of words. But we did the right thing, but like that was a hell of a update, really.
It also benefits us because it's sort of it was a platform for technology we're going to take into other aircraft. Yeah. So a lot of the work I did on the 146 version 2 is directly into the RJ. It's going into the F28. It will be included in the A300. Yeah. So this isn't single-use stuff. No. A bit like the EFB tablet is a good example of that.
Yeah.
It's something that's reused in other aircrafts. That's another upgrade actually that's coming up. We're currently adding the Navigraph en route charts to our EFB, so that will be coming in a few weeks' time, and that will come to all our aircraft.
So, looking sort of to the future here, obviously, we've had the Microsoft, announcement of the new sim coming out in a few months' time. We found out a lot more, a few more details yesterday, with some more details about new CFD modelling, new environments, and new technologies being implemented. How have you preparing to actually look at moving into the new sim? What's the obviously I'm sure there's probably some things that you can't talk about, but what's that sort of experience?
More than you, so that's right.
I've had that comment from a couple of developers, that apparently the public know more than the developer community do.
Yeah, I mean, we found out yesterday as much as a lot of you guys, but I think it's sort of a relief for us as an aircraft developer that not really an awful lot's changed. So from a developer point of view, so the flight modelling is great. We need more control over the flight model. Aircraft like the Black Square, Starship doesn't really. It's very hard to achieve that flight model with the current tools. Yeah. And even things like our Hawk and PA-28s, we've had real struggles in some areas because the sim interprets the shape of the aircraft and assumes behaviour from that, and we can't control that necessarily. So that's great. But apart from that, a lot of the it's obviously a much prettier sim, 2024, which is great for us because it keeps people engaged and the community there, but doesn't require any work from us. So that's great. Yeah. So really, it's kind of business as usual for us.
We'll continue to kind of harass Jorg and his team for kind of more details and idea when we might get the SDK for the team to kind of start looking at our products. But we're led to believe that at least 95% of all add-ons are going to kind of work seamlessly. Yeah. Probably some of ours will want to kind of make improvements. Nature of the beast.
Again, it comes back to the upgrade thing. Really, the assumption is that the content we've got at the moment will work as is. What scope is there for upgrading? And at the moment, it looks like primarily that'll be probably upgrades to all of our flight models, and something like the Vulcan. The brake parachute we can now do properly with soft body physics. Yep. But really, beyond that, at the moment, there's nothing stands out as requiring work from us, which is a relief. Really.
I was going to say that probably must be the biggest relief of everything going.
We've already got 8 or 10 products in Microsoft Flight Sim,
something like that. And over the years, because Just Flight have been around nearly 25 years, we have been through this with
This is not your first rodeo with a sim change.
This is much less of a jump than, say, 2004, the FSX. Or certainly FSX is much a flight sim. But yeah, that's where we differ, of course, from quite a lot of other developers out there. Is we already have a very large catalogue. We're looking to release another 4 or 5 aircraft in the next year. So obviously that presents challenges of supporting all those aircraft.
It will pose some issues and problems, but we'd rather have them than not, because it's another good step for the community.
Evolving platform is what we want.
Exactly, it's an evolving platform, and these things. And I think that's something that the community sometimes loses sight of, is that when we get these sim platform updates, is that yes, it might temporarily cause my aircraft might not fly or my avionics might work for this week, but the overall improvement that the whole community get and that everybody gets, including developers, is far outweighs the minor bit of frustration for that couple of weeks. I think sometimes that's lost.
Having a constantly evolving platform is what we all want and need. I mean, you can see from the show it works. It's growing the platform, it's growing the community, so we are willing to put up with the hassle of the occasional things get broken for that, All right, well, look, thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining us once again here at Flight Sim Expo. And folks, unfortunately, because you're not at the show, but Just Flight, we're doing some amazing discounts here at the store, like many of the developers here. So that's why I always suggest, if you have an option to be able to come and join us here at any of the Flight Sim Expos, always try and do so. Even if it's a virtual ticket, you still get those advantages. So, folks, thanks very much for joining us. Martin, Scott, thank you once again for joining us. Take care. All right, folks, take care. Stay skies to all, and we'll see you on the next interview. Bye for now.